What does your couch have in common with your car? And probably with your clothes. And definitely with the device you're watching this on right now. Before they were yours, they all took a ride in one of these. A shipping container is a big metal box, nothing fancy, but the modern world is built on them.
All goods globally all travel by shipping containers. It's a web of supply and demand around the globe, and these shipping containers go to one spot that has demand, and then that gets filled with supply that needs to go to another place with demand.
But that web of supply and demand is being stretched and broken. Now these big metal boxes are at the center of a global crisis hitting large corporations and small family-run furniture stores.
I would have never thought to see some of these huge delays and price increases because of something like these containers. I've seen so many of them come into the harbor here on the boats, and you never think there's a shortage.
That shortage is yet another consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, a crisis within a crisis. But even if the pandemic ended tomorrow, the problems with shipping containers wouldn't end with it.
Usually when prices go up, we don't tend to see them go down.
From what we're seeing, it could take a couple years before we even get back to any normalcy.
One company that knows what normal used to look like is P.F. Collins, founded in 1921 by Patrick Francis Collins, a customs broker in St. John's. 100 years later, it's still going strong. The business is built on moving goods from point A to point B, often in a shipping container.
Those containers would be loaded at a manufacturing facility in China, for example, would get delivered to the port. Generally, those vessels are bound for the west coast of North America. That could be Vancouver, it could be even Los Angeles. That's just one path. It can go the other way as well. They can go through the Suez Canal and come into Halifax or St. John's or Argentia, these major ports on the east coast of Canada as well. So there's lots of different routes, and they're all feeling strain right now.
That voyage along the global supply chain has gotten a lot more expensive. In October 2020, it cost about $3,800 to ship a container from China to the west coast of North America. By October of this year, the price had risen to more than $17,000. It's sitting at more than $14,000 today. Why the price hike? The simple reason is COVID. Look a little closer, and there are lots of reasons, but they all fit into one metal box.
There's just been a general increase in demand on these containers, and they haven't been able to fill them with the supply. That's just one piece of the puzzle as well.
As rich countries opened up, demand for goods went up too. That drove up demand for shipping containers and for space on the ships those containers travel in, and for space at the ports where the ships are unloaded. Suddenly, the whole system was backed up.
There's congestion in the Port of Vancouver, the Port of Los Angeles, and those ports generally handle over half the goods that come into those countries.
Because the ports are backed up, they can't load the empty containers back onto the ships. So the containers aren't getting back to the beginning of the supply chain, pushing demand for the containers that remain even higher. At the end of this strained supply chain is a place like Osmond's Furniture, another family-owned business with a long history in St. John's. But Michael Osmond's grandfather never saw anything like this.
I wake up almost every day, every week to a new price list, a new notice from the suppliers as well, whether it be, the containers have gone up, so we have to implement this much and we regrettably have to pass this along. Just last month, our biggest upholstery manufacturer put a pretty sizable surcharge percentage onto the cost of everything being produced after a specific date. This surcharge was directly linked to textile that comes in giant rolls by container.
Of course, the fabric is just one part of a couch. Every other part travels by container too.
There's the frame, there's the spring components, there's the little tiny plastic clips that attach the spring to the frames, and although it's a little tiny plastic clip, if that tiny plastic clip is delayed, then the product in Canada is going to be delayed the exact same amount of time or more.
It's a microcosm of our interconnected world. A plastic clip in China affects the price of a couch in St. John's. The delays and price increases get passed on at every point in between until it ends up with you waiting longer and paying more. Companies like Osmonds and P.F. Collins do what they can to take the hits by absorbing some costs, by dropping some parts of their business altogether. But the problems are stacking up, one shipping container at a time. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.